Hey everybody, who's ready to hear me rattle off some first impression nonsense that's, 2 months late by this point? You are? Good! Let's jump right on into this. Just a quick heads up, everybody. If you're here to listen to me, like everybody else on YouTube, complain about the gender politics surrounding this game, you're going to be pretty disappointed. I'm not going to be touching on that at all. This video is really just about my first 15 minutes in single player and the few hours I played in multiplayer, just to give you my first perspective on this game. So with that out of the way, let's dive right on into this first impressions bullshit. So as far as introductions go, this one is pretty fucking good. It just dumps you in this battlefield. Battlefield. So it just dumps you into this battlefield full of enemies, hands you a gun, and says, go. There's no hand holding, just go. Now, you're kind of left to figure out the controls to yourself, which I really, really like. There's too many games these days where it's like, hold left trigger to aim, and we know. We know how shooters work, especially games like this. I don't personally play this style of game. I'm not into Call of Duty or any of the other Battlefields. This is actually my first Battlefield game, and I've been having a lot of fun, and it's really nice and refreshing to not have a game just fucking hold my hand the entire time. I really, really appreciate that. So to anybody who actually knows me and my type of games, the atmosphere is super important to me. The world has to feel alive or just vibrant at the very least. You know, a good story is also very, very important. I'll get into that a little later. But the atmosphere, probably doubly as important. Because this is where you're going to be spending the next 60 to 80 hours of your life, is in this world. You want it to feel good and vibrant. And it does? Question mark? It feels really good. The graphics are phenomenal, especially on the Xbox One. I could be playing this on the PC. I'm not, because I don't want to. But this looks really good. It feels like a living, breathing world. It feels like you're actually in these intense battles. That is another point in this game's favor. It does fall short in some spots where I'll touch on that more in the multiplayer aspect, but like you can't jump over certain things that you should be able. Like any normal human being with legs is able to jump over these things. You should be able to, but you can't in this game. And the whole return to battlefield thing where in multiplayer you go too far outside the map. There's wide open stretches where it looks like you can go there and get a vantage point on your enemies and flank them, but then it's like, no, return to the battlefield in the next 10 seconds or the world's gonna explode. It doesn't feel natural. It feels like shit, actually. That's probably my biggest qualm with multiplayer. But again, that's a whole other part of this review that I'll get into in a bit. But for now, like I said, the fading between battles in the intro sequence feels really good. You get really invested in them. Looks phenomenal. I like it.
It didn't matter. This war would prove that from ocean bed to mountaintop, the greatest killing machine is man.
So I don't know if it's just me getting old or not being practiced or this not being my style of game, but the controls really kind of feel sluggish, I want to say. Just to give you an example, looking down your scope on the sniper rifle and then taking it away and starting to run, that feels super sluggish. It almost feels like there's a full second delay from dropping the scope to running. Now, that is pretty unforgivable in multiplayer. If you're playing as a sniper and someone sees you and you get shot once, you don't have that second to get up and move. You're getting shot the second time and you're gonna die. Now, that could just be me. I could just be awful at the game. But as a person who doesn't play this kind of game, who does first impression videos like this, after only playing 15 minutes with no context, it's kind of shitty. That being said, though, everything else kind of feels really good. I do like the way you run, the way you switch weapons. The D-pad controls need a little work, or they just need me to get good. Like, I need to get fucking better at everything. The flight controls. I only dabbled about 2 minutes in the flight controls, but they were awful. Some of the worst flying I've experienced in a game. It's just too... I don't even know. It's just a little too touchy. And the inverted stick really sucked, but you can change that, so it's not really a complaint. I wasn't a big fan of the aerial controls, but again, I just need to get better at this. It's not really an excuse. So, I'll give it, you know, a 9 out of 50 for controls, for player controls. I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about. Moving on!
You're only ready to die.
So, you know, there isn't too much to say about this. Everything has that EA level of polish on it, especially the cinematics. They look really, really good. You know, because this is the intro to the game. You want the cinematics to look really, really good, because that's kind of the main draw, right? Besides the gameplay, obviously. Okay, so it's not really the main draw, but it helps. Everything was really good. I really enjoyed the cinematics. They look phenomenal, obviously. However, the score, it was kind of a weird choice for this part of the game. I don't know if I'm the only one who thought this while playing it through, but take a look at this and tell me if it makes sense.
Beginnings. Endings. In between one and the other. Between first and last. Always searching. Sometimes finding. Brothers. Sons and daughters. Mothers and fathers. We have no world without them. And there is no other world.
Weirdly fitting, right? Anyway, moving on.
Team Deathmatch. Team Deathmatch is an infantry-focused mode where you must fight each other to the death. This mode pits your team against the enemy to be the last team standing.
Okay, the whole reason anyone gets a game like this is for the multiplayer. And I will say, I've been having a lot of fun. I've been getting my ass kicked almost every match I've played because, like I said before, this isn't my kind of game. I don't really play shooters, especially the Battlefields and the Call of Duties and the young kids with their hip-hop and the... I'm sorry, I don't know what that was. Anyways, I don't really play these kinds of games, but I am having a lot of fun. In fact, I'm going to be playing 100 matches in Team Deathmatch just to try and get good at being a sniper. I really just... I don't know, I've been having so much fun, I figured why not keep going. I'm actually enjoying myself playing a multiplayer shooter, which hasn't happened to me before. There's a couple issues with it, but nothing too major. It's mostly just the controls feeling a little sluggish. The maps, like I said before, the boundaries aren't clearly defined, and you just find yourself walking out of the map, and then you get a big gray pop-up that says, "Come on back into the battlefield," and it's actually pulls you right out of that immersion, and you stop having fun for a couple seconds, where you have to turn around, stop your forward momentum, and walk back into this battlefield and try and get your bearings, and you're probably going to get shot for doing it because you're in a wide open space. That's not fun, but everything else about the multiplayer is. Really like it. So, in summation, I really enjoy this game. I don't know anything about the gender politics because I only played the first 15 minutes, the intro sequence before you're allowed to play multiplayer. That's all I played of the single player. I'll do more, but this was, like I said, just my first impressions. It's really good! Anyways, guys, thank you for stopping by and listening to me give my first impressions on this game. If you enjoyed it, be sure to leave me a like. And hey, maybe consider subscribing so you can see me get my ass kicked over and over again in Team Deathmatch whenever I get around to finishing that video. And of course, let me know what your opinions are on Battlefield 5 down in the comments below. Thanks again, and have yourselves a good night.